because we came from too much.
Right.
I mean, growing up in high school, I had a mentor, a coach, John Martinez. And this is a guy with his family that poured so much into me, right? He would have a yard sale on a Friday morning to make money to come see me play that night. I have kids that were all league at Buena Park. Their parents couldn't afford to go to the game. So we'd make it seem like they were volunteering so they could get in the game for free. We had 200 people on the guest list.
Right on.
At Buena Park. 200 people on the guest list at Buena Park to come in the game. The principal, the assistant principal, hey, how come you have 200 people here? I said, because you have 2,000 in the stands. I bring you 2,000. Give me 200.
That's tough.
That's awesome.
That's the type of program that we're going to build at Santa Ana College. That when you could do that for your players and you could do that for people, it's not about just blocking because a coach tells you to. You do it for each other. And that's what we're building.
Let's go.
All right, welcome everybody. This is the Outloud podcast. It's our Sunday edition, and today we have Coach Anthony White, the brand new shiny head coach over at Santa Ana College. I wasn't saying that, Coach. This guy's one of the hottest guys on Twitter. He's really committed to that. He's committed to his teams. He's committed to his players. He's committed to his family, and I think we're going to try to touch on all of that stuff today. I think we need to start out for those people who don't know you. Like, where do you come from, and you know, what is your background? What do you want to say about that?
Great. So I grew up in Rosemead High School. Grew up in the city of Rosemead. Went to Rosemead High School. Graduated from there in 1999. Received a full athletic scholarship to the University of Utah, where I played for 5 years. Redshirted. My senior year, Coach Urban Meyer came from Bowling Green. Kind of turned our place around. When he left, that's when I left. I was actually student body vice president my senior year. So I got to deal with, Coach Meyer on a football team standpoint as one of his captains and as a student body vice president representing the student body of the University of Utah while I was on campus. Moved back, started coaching at my alma mater, Rosemead High School, freshman head coach. Got my first teaching job and coaching job at Wilson High School in Hacienda Heights with your brother, Coach Chuck.
Exactly, yeah.
And coached there for a year. And then went back to Rosemead as a defensive coordinator just 3 years in. Went to PCC after that, came back to Rosemead as assistant head coach, was going to be the head coach. Coach Koffler then decided he was going to keep going. So then I went to become the head coach at Temple City High School. Then I went to Buena Park High School for 7 years. Took a couple years off as I have young children. And then now I'm at Santa Ana College and happy as ever.
No, that's fantastic, Coach. I'm really interested, Coach, to kind of to tap into some of the things that your philosophies with the energy that you put in and the watching videos and following along with your career. The energy that you put into reaching out and reaching down to kind of the love your players and players to love their coaches.
Yes.
I've had some similar experiences. That yes sir, no sir program. I mean,
Yes, sir.
that discipline and that love seems to permeate all the things that you talk about and that your teams respond to. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. Just my philosophy, and really I feel my calling as a football coach is to help as many student athletes as possible. I mean, someone like me didn't grow up with a dad, didn't know what he looked like. When I would play in a game and being one of the better players on the team growing up, I didn't have much. So, I could be MVP of the game and score 3 touchdowns. When the team went out to pizza, we didn't go because we didn't have money for pizza. So there were coaches throughout my life that poured into me that I looked at as my dad. I mean, I'm talking like when I'm down ready to play, I remember this when I was 8 years old, 9 years old. And when dads were cheering for their sons and saying, "Go, son," I was pretending that was my dad. And I was trying to make them proud. I was always seeking that approval. I was always trying to make them happy. And that's what kind of fueled me in the beginning when it comes to academics, when it comes to athletics, when it comes to being a good person, is because I was always seeking that approval. And I began to look at those coaches as my dad. And I realized there are so many young student athletes like that, from the youth level to high school and now even to college, that I've learned. And there's so many people that are just looking for that approval and looking for a roadmap. When you don't grow up with a dad, or you grow up with a parent that's first generation, or you're the first one in your family to go to college like I was, you don't have a roadmap to life. You don't have a roadmap to education. You don't have a roadmap to getting a good job, to being married, to starting a family, to do all those things. So I had all those roadmaps as my teachers and my coaches, and I just try to portray that back into my student athletes and give back what they gave me.
That's awesome. I was in a very similar situation. I was raised by a single mother, found my way to St. Paul. I got blessed to get there and be there and play and have some success. But I really felt the same way. And there was a very small period of time where I was really the same way as you. I felt really like I was missing something.
Yes.
My mom told me, she goes, you have 10 dads in football.
Yes.
You have 2 dads in basketball. You have 4 dads on the baseball field. Like, what do you, let's take the best from everything. Let's, my grandfather was in my life, coach. I'm not going to say that I didn't have somebody to look up to. Chuck was my head coach was my coach in high school. I mean, I had great father figures and great role models. And that paradigm shift is something I want all the kids to hear. The young people, listen, man, it might not, I didn't have to deal with the bad parts of my dad, whatever my dad was, alcoholic or whatever, he didn't have a job. I didn't have to deal with that. He wasn't around. All I got to, I got to deal with guys on their best day. I got to deal with Chuck at full speed every day. I'm sure you can imagine what that's like. And so I really appreciate you. And I'm glad you got to put that out there right up front so people could hear that. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Coach, tell us a little bit about the rest of your support system and growing up. Obviously, you must have had some strong, people, your mother and stuff in your life that formulated some of the leadership that you show now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, no, definitely. My mother obviously was very strong growing up. I have 2 younger brothers and a younger sister. All of us are college graduates now. Nice. My brother is the head wrestling coach and a teacher at Fullerton High School. Nice. My sister was in the military, did 2 tours in Iraq. She now works for Southwest and is in Hawaii right now, working for Southwest. And my other brother is working at Roseman High School, alma mater. Oh, so nice. We had my mom, who did a fantastic job. And then I had 2 uncles, Michael and Toby, my mom's older brother. My mom comes from a family of 9 kids. Oh, wow. So I had some uncles that were tough, and they would come on weekends. And those were the gentlemen that were, do this, or I'm going to tell your uncle when we get there on Saturday. Those were those kind of guys. And then throughout the week, I had some great coaches, Mark Luera, Coach Jim Hall in high school, Jim Zant and Louis Magical were both my freshman coaches. Both passed away now. Oh, wow. Made a profound staple on my life. Tom Odell, Dave Terrazas, who as you're a good player, a lot of coaches would I see a lot of coaches now, when you're a good player, they kind of coddle to you, right? They want to make sure you're okay. That was never happening to me. My mom wouldn't allow it. And the coaches wouldn't allow it. And that's what I love about Rosemead, and just love about how I kind of grew up. And that's kind of how I coach. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what your situation is. When you're on the field, everyone's equal. And it all comes down to effort and heart. And I want to see strain. You might be the fastest person on the team. That doesn't mean you win every race. It means you strain and push yourself every race to win. So we had some great people growing up, man. And, I just love them all. I think about them all the time. And, David Venti, Coach Venti, coached me in my all-star baseball team. First man to take me on a vacation. I never been on a vacation. Our vacation was going to grandma's house for spring break, for 3 days. But, he, an upper class family from, San Marino, Arcadia area, had a motor home. I was like, what is this, a house on wheel? I never been in a motor home. Went down to SeaWorld, and you're seeing stuff that you only saw in books and in magazines and encyclopedias. And that was my first glimpse. This is what a family is like. Imagine going to a place where you don't care what you ordered because you can afford everything on the menu. You just
not
get
doing
food.
the math.
Yeah, you know, I remember sleeping over my friend's house when I was little. I'm like, dang, you guys get two toppings on your pizza? I was like, what is this? You know, those are things I never even knew. Like, you guys buy the full gallon of milk? I didn't even know, you know what I mean? We always buy the half gallons of the cart. I never knew that kind of stuff existed. So when I would spend a night at my friend's house, and I was always a good kid, so parents always want the good kid around their son. So I was getting invited to a lot of different places. And just some special people, man. I'm blessed.
Coach, we're talking about the impact, you know, we're talking about the impact on your life, a little bit about my life. And Chuck, all I see on Twitter, it's just beating me up right now, is all these coaches that are retiring. You know, they're not feeling the mojo that you're talking about right now. They're not getting the feedback from the players and the families. You know, is there anything that can stop that? Or are we just going to is football going to weaken itself by not having this leadership?
No, I think you get what you pay for. Football has and athletics in general throughout youth and especially in high school. In high school, coaches have been taken for granted.
Yeah.
And we've been taken for granted too long. When you're talking about the hours with the elimination of the non-association rule in CIF, school districts, administrations, parents, and student athletes as well have all taken coaches for granted. You don't have those coaches hardly ever that have coached for 20, 30 years because they're not receiving the love. Now kids, it's all about them rather than about the program or the school. I'm a coach where I'm about the student athlete, but I'm about the student athlete because I want you to be about yourself and I want you to be about the program. The kids aren't about the program.
No.
You're going to learn more from me in 4 years when I was coaching high school than you would in 40. That was my goal. You give me 4 years, I'm going to give you 40 years of life experiences.
It's a good trade, Coach.
Thank you. But school districts really, you know, I talked about this a little bit at length. So let me go into a little bit of a story right here.
Please.
High school football coaches get paid, I'm going to say on average, $5,000 as a head football coach in high school. $5,000. I don't understand the reason of why we can't pay them hourly. Now, let me break it down. And when I say hourly, every coach is like, man, look at all the hours I spent. CIF mandated, I believe in 2013, or maybe a little bit, actually 2018, around there. Right. So CIF mandated you could only spend 18 hours a week at practice. Okay. That's the cap with your student athletes. Therefore, every school district and every athletic department has a map now of what you can pay coaches hourly. Now, every administrator, every district expects their football coaches to coach all year round.
Right.
Every school district has a number, a salary number, an hourly number where they pay coaches hourly based on if they're certificated, if they're classified, right, and if they're with students or without students. If you just inputted that number to pay coaches salaries would triple. Now you're telling me you don't think we'll get more coaches if we triple those salaries and actually pay them what they deserve? So it comes down to being taken for granted. A lot of coaches I know, I'm a type of coach where I coach for the outcome. I don't coach for the income, number one. Yeah. Okay. I coach for the outcome, not the income. So let me get that off the table. But at the same time, I've seen and heard too many coaches talking about, I'm out there coaching other kids and I'm not coaching my own kid.
Right.
I'm out there helping other families while my family's waiting for me at home. And that's honestly, that's why the reason I took the 4 years off that I did. I was at the top of the mountain. We were all 9-1, right, freshmen, JV and varsity. All league champions, freshmen, JV and varsity. Went to the semifinals, lost to the eventual champion, Edison High School. I mean, we're Little Buena Park. We're playing Edison. We beat Corona Del Mar. We beat San Juan Hills. We're beating teams like that. We're shutting out Villa Park. We're beating teams like that. But at the end of the day, when my daughter was born mid-game week against La Habra, she was born on a Sunday night. Okay, mid-game week, La Habra, the biggest game maybe of my career.
Right.
She's born that night. The principal says, congratulations, and Coombs is incredible, the superintendent at Lowell School District. Now, he's the only one that really called and asked about my family. I had other teachers like, oh, so when are you going to come back to practice? We got a big game this week. Stuff like that. So coaches have been taken advantage of for too long. And when school districts realize that and start compensating them and taking care of them, I think we'll get them back.
It's an amazing fact. I got to see it a little bit firsthand in several different places that I coached. That, you know, the better job you do, the better you work with the kids and their grades, the better you keep your kids eligible and excelling in the classroom, the better they forget that there was ever problems, and they kind of have those expectations that's the way it's going to be, and they forget that there's somebody spending that time every night doing those things, you know. And it's a great tribute to you and all the coaches that we know that coach that way, because we all know we're not getting paid, and the outcome is definitely the prime motivator. And our families, God bless them, you know, they also have stepped up to the point where, you know, they understand some of that, and they make great sacrifices, and you know, that's something that needs to be said, and I'm glad you made clear on that, because that's important for people to hear.
Yes, sir.
Your leadership style, what would you say your leadership style is? Is there something you can kind of pinpoint for us?
I'm a brutal, honest coach. I never want a player or a student athlete. I don't call them players. I call them student athletes, right? They're all student athletes. Any student athlete that plays for me is going to hear the truth, right? I think my offensive coordinator, my longtime childhood friend, who's now my offensive coordinator, was with me at Buena Park, and now the offensive coordinator at Santa Ana College with me, Jude Oliva, has a great analogy. He says, growing up, when you're playing for coaches, some coaches are going to feed you candy. And kids like candy, and they want more candy, and they get candy, but it doesn't help you. What we try to give, and what our philosophy is we feed you vegetables. And at first, you might not like vegetables, but then as you realize vegetables are better for you, and it's helping you more and more and become a better person, a better student athlete, a better player, you appreciate it. So I'm one of those coaches that's brutally honest. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, but you need to know that I am on your side. I'm here to help you. The only reason there's a coach is because there's student athletes to coach.
Have you lost kids? Have you lost kids because of that, coach, over the years that kind of drift away? Yeah.
Of course. But at the same time, they never reach their full potential. So some have come back. Some have called me later when they didn't get to college or when they didn't sign. But that's just who I am. And I'm going to be honest with you from the start. I tell everyone that comes on a recruiting trip to Santa Ana College, I'm real nice right now. You know, I'm real nice. I laugh and I'm a good guy. But when you step on the field and when you come here, my number one job is to get you a scholarship. And I'm going to treat you like I'm going to help you do what you said you wanted to do.
Right.
And I'm going to hold you to that standard. If you get mad at me for holding you to a lower standard, that really means you didn't ever want to be here.
Right.
And I let them know that from the start. And some student athletes, they just don't know what they don't know, you know? And it takes a coach like that to be honest with them and tell them up front.
It's amazing reading through some of the articles that have been written about you in the past, and kind of going through your process, and to see again the combination of love and discipline is really glaring. It really is awesome. And I, you know, Joe Ehrman, I don't know, Coach Joe Ehrman talks a lot about love the kids. When I got to Pioneer, I got this group of guys that was basically had really been out of control, and I got a chance to tell them, you know, your job is to love each other. My job is to love you. And they looked at me like, who the hell is this guy? I wanted a coach. We wanted somebody badass. And here's this guy telling me. But once they figured out that love meant I'm going to follow up, I'm going to be consistent, I'm going to stay on you, I'm not going to allow you to fail, it took on a whole new meaning. And the kids coached the other kids in that process. How long did it take you, like at Buena Park, for example, to get the philosophy to permeate throughout the kids, and then they started leading with your philosophies? How'd that go?
I think at Buena Park, it maybe only took a couple months, because when you step into a program like that, and same with you, Coach Willick, when you step into a program like that hadn't had any success really, right? They won like 6 games in 8 years before I got their total. And since I stopped coaching, when you step into a program that's like that, where they don't have a lot of success, the players just think it's all about points on the scoreboard. And I tell them, if you miss lifting, you're not going to play. If you're a bad person, you're not going to play. If you are a bad student in the classroom, you're not going to play. If you're not coachable, you're not going to play. And you have some student athletes that are looking and they think like, well, they can't win if I don't play. And I said, guess what? We haven't won anyway with you. We can lose without you too. Right, and when that set the standard right there, I can lose without you too, because they already been losing with you. And when you set that standard and they understand that you're not going to waver, you have to bend. And I tell my student athletes this all the time. You have to bend to me, because what happens to things that don't bend? They break and they don't play and they don't get what they want. And players, more than anything, they want playing time.
Coach, we've been on here for a minute, and I've heard you say yes, sir, about 100 times already. Tell us the power of yes, sir. Tell us the power of yes, ma'am.
You know, it's about respect. I think I always want to show respect to everyone I come in contact with. I want to show my student athletes to show respect. You know, put it blatantly, I'm a young black man. Well, I think I'm young, right? I'm in my 30s still, right? I'm a young black coach. And I'll tell you a story how that started. I was a senior in high school. I was pretty big for my size. You know, I was graduating when I was 17.
What position did you play, Coach?
I played running back and safety.
Nice.
And then, so I was a senior in high school, and you know, everyone knows my story. No, I didn't grow up with much. So we didn't have a home phone. Okay. I couldn't afford a home phone. Obviously at that time, there's no cell phones. There's nothing. Okay. So for recruiting, I was pretty highly recruited. So for recruiting, the recruiters had two choices. You could either call me in my classroom and the teacher would give me the classroom phone and I would talk to Harvard and talk to UCLA. And, you know, imagine, I was a cool guy, man. You know, imagine getting a call from a UCLA in the middle class. Oh, man, that helped me in high school. But the other way was, I lived in Rosemead right there off of Marshall Boulevard and San Gabriel Boulevard. There was a Carl's Jr. on the corner right there by St. Anthony's Church, if anybody knows that area. There was a payphone there. I would tell college coaches that my mom was super strict, which she already was, but that I had to do homework. And I would only be allowed to talk on the phone to recruiters from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And what I would do is I would go to the corner and I would sit down by the payphone and I gave the payphone number like it was my home number because I was embarrassed. And I would sit down and there for 2 hours, 3 days a week, and I would get calls from recruiters on the payphone. I would answer it like it was my own house. Like, hello, oh, this is Anthony. Hey, coach, how you doing? And I would pretend in my house there's, police sirens and cars. And what's that? Oh, that's the TV. Sorry, coach, my brother watched. I would say stuff like that because I was embarrassed.
Oh, that's awesome.
One time, it was about 9 o'clock, maybe 9:30, and police cars. This is the first time I've been frisked and everything. Police cars came up with their guns drawn, doors open, and told me to put my hands up, get on my knees. They frisked me. They asked what I was doing. I tried to explain I was in high school. No police officer is going to believe you're taking recruiting calls because you're a Division I recruit at a payphone at Carl's Jr. at 9:30 at night.
Right.
But I was.
Right.
And I kept saying, yes, sir, and show them that I wasn't a risk. And they already had their guns drawn. And I was scared to death out of my mind. And I wanted to show them respect so they would show me respect. That's why 2020 is such an important year. And when that happened, I realized that when I showed respect, at the end, they gave me respect. And that kind of changed my mentality of who I wanted to be, how I wanted to be viewed. Because what I didn't know is that the people in Carl's Jr. thought I was selling drugs.
Right.
Because of the way I looked and who I was. And every night, 3 nights a week, I would just answer phone calls, sit down, answer phone calls, sit down. And that's kind of how that started. So as I got older and I matured and I became a teacher and I went to college and I got my master's degree and I did all these things, I always want to make sure you are always being judged. I tell my student athletes, you're being judged. At Buena Park, they think you're good athletes. They don't know how smart you are.
Right.
You might be, you're black, you're Mexican, you're white, you're orange, you're yellow. It doesn't matter who you are, but you are being judged. And you always got to prepare yourself like you're being judged because it's true. It's true. And we got to make sure we prepare our student athletes for that.
But it definitely, in 2021, it definitely puts people in a different spot when you address them that way. It puts them in a defensive. It makes them receive a little bit more than just talk at you. I mean, I feel it just talking to you right now. I'm like, oh yeah. You know, he's talking to me. He's talking to me. Wait a minute. I got to hear what this guy's got to say. You know, there's those little things, right? Those little things.
It is the great disarmer, and it's such a powerful tool. You know, we learned that. I learned that. My father was a police officer for 28 years, and you know, we learned that part of it from him. You know, awesome. That yes or no sir deal was a way, and we thought, you know, we laugh about it now because we thought it was us kind of being punished and being these square kids who said yes or no sir, when in reality it was a tool to put us in a position for people to understand that, you know, we're open to being respectful to you. We want your knowledge. And, you know, my mother would talk about that knowledge thing all the time. People will share their knowledge with you if they believe that you're really interested and you're respectful and you care. And who knew at that time when we were young that was such a powerful tool, you know, and I've seen it being used. I have a real good friend who's a guard, works for the sheriff's department, but he worked for a long time with the gang unit in the prisons, and he said that's the way I survived. Right. You know, wow. He says yes sir, no sir to some hardened criminals who then in return gave me just, you know, he goes, we didn't trust them. Right. He goes, but we showed them the love and the care that to be, you know, to not dehumanize them, and that's really a major. I think it's such an important thing, Coach, and we're really glad. Tell us a little bit about Work to Win, because, you know, I want to talk a little bit about some of the other things that you talked about. We'll get to that, but that Work to Win slogan seems to be a big deal for you.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of like our family mantra here. I tell my son, you know, who's 8 years old, Anthony White II, and I tell my son 3 things before every game. Number 1 is do your best. Number 2 is work to win. Number 3 is to have fun. I don't care what the score is. I don't care if we win or lose. Those are the 3 things I care about for my son, who's just 8 years old. But work to win kind of started, I was more living it rather than saying it or using that slogan. That's something that me and Coach Meyer at the University of Utah used to talk a lot about, you know, after practice or in his office and things like that. And it's all about not believing in luck, not hoping. I think hope is a great, is an evil kind of thing for me, because instead of hoping, you need to be working towards what you want. And that's something that I grew up with a lot of different people in my city. And just like everyone has, and you saw people that should have been, could have been, would have been, but right. For some reason they didn't work to do it. And that's just what I believe. I believe that we don't hope for luck. We don't, you know, kind of wish things into fruition. We work for things. And if you want to win at anything, you have to work. And it comes with just putting in that time and that effort again, and putting your whole heart into it. So that's what work to win is to me. It's kind of like my family mantra, kind of the slogan that kind of stuck to me, just like our family versus their team. And that's what I believe in.
I saw the videos, and again, it's ironic that it reminded me of kind of our upbringing. You know, watching your kids just compete and get after it. You know, I mean, there was no freaking whining for mama, you know, on the football field. You guys were getting after, you know, in spring with, you know, the little helmets and all that good stuff. But they were physical. Is that a big part of your philosophy, Coach? Yeah,
being physical is a decision. Being disciplined is a decision. All those things we control. I'm making my PowerPoint for our first team meeting at Santa Ana College with our student athletes. And I'm talking about all the things we control. My son 2 weeks ago woke up on a Saturday morning. He had a football scrimmage, right? Plays for the Carson Colts right now. And he woke up for the scrimmage and he was quiet. And he didn't say much. He didn't eat that much breakfast. And I said, you ready for today? He said, yes, sir. I said, what's wrong? Why are you so quiet? He said, I wonder if they have big kids. I wonder what defense they're going to run. He's 8 years old. I wonder what they're going to do. I said, last Sunday when you had a soccer game, you woke up first in the household, you ate a big breakfast, and you were ready to go. I said, why do you wake up nervous for football, but ready to go for soccer? And he said, I don't know. I said, you know why? Because in soccer, you're focusing on what you're going to do. In football, you're focusing on what they're going to do. So we don't waste time focusing on what they do. We focus on what we do and what we control. So being physical, being disciplined, that's all a decision that we make. Trust me, I'm not the biggest guy, right? I'm about 5'11", 6 foot. I'm not going to say my weight now, but back when I was back when I was playing, you know, we played at the University of Michigan.
Right.
Those guys don't look like Utah guys, but I still have the same job.
Right.
So like I tell my student athletes and my players on defense, you need to be able and willing to make a decision to stick your face in the fan. Okay. When the fan's going, remember we used to talk and have that sound. If you could stick your hand or stick your face in the fan and get involved, it's only a decision that you're making. You just have to accept that you're making that decision. And that's when anyone wants a physical team, when everyone wants a disciplined team, the players are going to take on the personality of the head coach. As Coach Willig, as you know, right? When
Absolutely.
you're there, everything's rolling. You guys are physical. You guys are doing what you're supposed to do. When you're not there, you see what happens. Same with me every place I've been. If as a principal administrator, you don't like the way things are going, look at the head coach.
Coach, just, you know, I hate to say this, but this all sounds like nostalgia. This sounds like the way it used to be. You know, the emphasis on discipline, toughness, hitting, these kind of things. So now, you know, I coach in Orange County. I coach at Villa Park, and it's like, nice. You know, you don't feel, you don't always get that. You're not, there's no emphasis on that toughness. It's playmaking skills, going up and get a ball, throwing the ball, running, whatever. It's sort of that 7-on-7 vibe. You know, so I'm gonna call you an outlier, Coach. I'm gonna call you an outlier. You know, it's kind of an old school mentality. Do you think that hinders your recruiting, or do you think that people are attracted to that and they come like crazy?
What do you think college coaches want?
They want bangers, Coach.
Exactly. So that's exactly what they want. They want those type of student athletes. So here's another story. When Coach Meyer came in, he told us all we need to make a decision. He said, you don't have to get physical and be disciplined and be hard-nosed and do those things for me. But if this guy is your best friend, right, and he's your guy and he's your roommate and you won't block for him, that's not a problem with me. That's a problem between you two. That's what it's about. You can't get a break on 3 and say family on 3 if you ain't willing to do what families do for each other.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. You need to break everything down. I'm not just asking kids to run through a wall for no reason. But if your family was in trouble, you would run through anything. And if you build the family culture and you build that, they will do anything for each other. We had D1 players on punt team.
Right.
We had D1 players on kickoff because it's about our family versus their team. They're not willing to do what we're willing to do for each other. Now, later on, it can come to the head coach. Later on, that takes time to build. But this is your boy you went to junior high with. This is your friend you went to middle school with. Coach Meyer and myself, I mean, he taught me a lot of these things, right? So I would go through high school, walk through the hallways of my high school, and see one of my student athletes with his girlfriend. I'd ask her how much she cares about him. And if she said a lot, oh, I love him, you know, a puppy love, right?
Yeah.
They said, oh, I love him, you know, I care about him a lot. I like him a lot. That's your boyfriend? Oh, okay. How long you been dating? 3 months? Oh, in high school, that's like a year, right? A year in real time, 3 months in high school. But if you really cared about him, here's his grades. How much do you really care about him? And you break it down like that. Coach Meyer would do that all the time. I do it twice as much as that. And it's not just me. I have a great staff that's been with me at Buena Park. A lot of guys are over at Santa Ana College with me now. And we all have to have the same message. It might be a different tone. Coach Jude Oliva, Coach James Guglielmana, Coach Fern, all those guys, we all have the same message. It's just a different tone.
Right.
And that's what you need to do. You need to have a diversity on your staff to be able to reach those players. You coach at Villa Park. There's a lot of guys that have really good lives that play for you.
Yes, sir.
My son right now has a really good life, right? He has a PS5. He has 2 controllers, just him playing.
Right.
I mean, you have all these great things. What I need to do and what I've been doing, what my wife has helped me do, is we create that adversity. We put him in wrestling since he was 5 years old. He doesn't like wrestling sometimes. He doesn't want to wake up. I mean, it's the hardest sport in high school to play for youth. But that's the only adversity you go through in your life.
Right.
Because you're the kid at school with the cupcake in your lunchbox.
Right.
You got the good you got the good sandwich with the lettuce and the tomato, not just cheese. Right? So we need to create that adversity. And that's what you see on the videos in practice, is us creating that adversity. They've never been on that stage by themselves.
Right.
Right? They could usually depend on their parents or whatever the case may be. So we create that adversity for them to let them stand up and grow up.
Is there a social media noise problem for your team? How do you insulate your teams from all the noise? It's got to be excruciating for you.
No, it's tough. But they just have to mature. I mean, how much can you really control teenagers and stuff? You just have to, what I would always say, and my advice to parents out there, if your child blocks you, what are they doing? If you're a student athlete that can't have their parents follow you, if your mom is on Instagram, if you don't know, all the kids out there, right? Your mom has an Instagram, dude. Okay. Your mom has a Facebook. Your mom probably maybe Twitter. I don't know. But your mom has that stuff. Your mom has a TikTok too.
Oh yeah.
But if you block your parents or you allow your children to block you, that's the problem.
Right.
No,
that's
no
awesome.
Coach, there's a lot of outside influences that have become, I won't say a problem because they're not a problem to everybody, but I think the 7-on-7s, the club football teams that showed up this past year through the pandemic, those things are becoming a pretty major influence on a lot of the better players. I don't see it trickling down so much, but I do see that there's a lot of kids that they're spending a lot of time listening to those coaches and trusting in those coaches. And how do you feel that plays into today's game?
Well, I always, I have a lot of great friends that are coaches and trainers, the trainers, the coaches, the 7-on-7, and they're always in a great spot. Okay. So let's say that first. I believe they're always in a great spot. A student gets trained. He goes out on Friday night. He has a great game. Trainer comes back. Yeah, that's all that work we've been putting in. Good job, man. We do what we're supposed to do. He trains with the coach. He go out on Friday night. They have a bad game. Oh man, see, if they would have been doing what we've been doing, then you would have did better. So those trainers are always in a good spot. I actually put a proposal together and sent it to Commissioner Wygod with CIF to make 7-on-7, the passing league, to make that a spring sport throughout CIF. If you make that a spring sport, that means 7-on-7 passing league teams and other leagues have to go through the high schools. It's another revenue stream for CIF, number one. Number two, it regulates where students can play, because you can't play on two sports at the same time. You can't play on a club team and a high school team at the same time.
Right.
So if you do that in spring, maybe you have 2 games a week. Maybe it's still 1 game a week on a Wednesday, so they can play other sports or whatever the case may be. But it keeps coaches involved. It keeps the same voices at the schools and with the student athletes. And number three, which I thought was most important, is it gives more coaches a chance to coach a team. So let me get this straight. For diversity reasons and to help younger coaches, Coach Rollo isn't going to coach the spring 7-on-7 team on Modern Day. Okay, we all know that.
Right.
But he may be willing to put that receivers coach who's coaching that club team, put that receivers coach as the head coach of the spring team.
Right.
Now you have administration. Now you have other schools. Now you have other coaches getting chances to show what they can do, and maybe they'll get a chance to coach in the fall as a head coach.
That's spectacular.
But you never have that chance unless you give them a chance. So now we have a lot of coaches and that see the 7-on-7 as an enemy. We already do spring ball. High schools already do spring ball. We already do spring practice. Start a 7-on-7 / 5-on-5 for offensive and defensive linemen. Make a tournament style. Create the rules. The rules are out there. These guys are making tons of money and doing a great job at it. And some of them are great, and they're helping tons of student athletes. Don't get me wrong. But some of them are out there, and it's a second job. Okay, It's a second job. And they're trying to get money. Okay, they're trying to get money. But if CIF could regulate that and bring it in the spring, it gives more people an opportunity. And that's what I think what would help with that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Coach, tell us a little bit about your criteria for hiring coaches, and what are you looking for in guys that are either young or experienced? You know, what are you looking for, and what do you expect out of your guys when they get to you?
Will you show up? Will you be dependable and do what you're asked to do? And can you buy into the team? I don't care how long you coached. I don't care how much you know. I don't care about any of that stuff. Can you show up? Are you dependable, respectable, right? And can you follow the lead? Because any coach that can do those great things, it's my job. If I could coach players, I could coach a coach.
Right.
Why do I want some coach that knows everything? Shit, he's gonna take my job or what, right? He's gonna think he knows more than anyone, and he ain't gonna listen to anybody.
Right.
So I've hired coaches that never coached before, and now they're position coaches because I've known coaches that know everything. They know the best defense, best offense. They show up once a week.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you can show up, you can be dependable and respectable, and you can follow the lead. That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes. It doesn't matter what you know. I'm going to teach you what you need to know anyway.
Players recognize that right from the start.
Exactly.
They know the guys that are there and the guys that show up. We used to have a sign over the door that said "Check your ego at the door." When you walked out, coaches tapped that thing, you know, and it was true. It was true. Those guys, once you became that team mentality, and you know, you were a reflection of your head coach. You know, I mean, kids bought into that. You know, that's
yes,
a big deal. And
yes, sir.
Coach, I wanted to move on into something that's a little more, I would say, maybe touchy, controversial, or whatever, or maybe just really pointed at this point.
Okay.
And I'm gonna talk about a little bit about the race situation, and I want to clarify something because I want to move the conversation to a starting point. We've all been in rooms with athletes all our lives.
Yes.
You know, to me, there has never seemed to be a big deal. You know, we didn't look at each other and see color as much as I think in normal society does. They were your brothers on the field or off the field, and it became, you know, I can remember being in college and being in rooms where I was the only white guy and I was in the minority, and it never dawned on me that it was a big deal, you know. And guys would tease me and laugh, you know, you know, and welcome me into that group because of whatever their reasons were, you know. I was a cool guy maybe or whatever, you know.
You could play, coach. You could play.
Right, exactly. That was part of the deal. But we loved each other the same. And in athletics, I think we learn a lot about that. Now, obviously, we've gone through a year where race has been brought to the forefront for us, for the white people and people that are not of color. Where I want to start the conversation is saying, I don't know what it's like to be a black man. Mm-hmm. But I do understand and listen enough to have a great empathy and great respect for understanding the plight that has been explained to me. Mm-hmm. And my friends have accepted that I know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. and I don't have to be a black man to understand that there is something that's important to talk about.
Yes, sir.
If we start at that place where we understand, what do I need to know that's going to help me be a part of a solution or be a part of a daily process that helps for me as a white man to be able to help be a part of the solution? That's my question.
Yes, I think you know, athletics is the great neutralizer where everyone is equal on the field. I don't care what the left tackle is, if he's white, black, brown, yellow, red, whatever, as long as his ass better block. Mm-hmm. That's what he need to do, right?
Right.
So when you have that, and a lot of people aren't in athletics, they don't depend on anybody else. And all it comes down to being vulnerable. And some people never have been in that situation where they needed to be vulnerable and needed to depend on somebody that looks different from them. But if you look at someone like me, someone who, you know, the first black head coach in junior college history in Orange County history, if you look at someone like that, I've had to depend on people that don't look like me my whole life, whether I'm in high school, whether I was in youth, whether I was in college, whether I'm coaching college now. A lot of people don't have that. They never depended on someone and been like, man, I wonder if my hair, you know, whatever, right? I wonder if I'm dressed okay. They've never done that because they're like, oh, he looks the same as me. It doesn't really matter. And the starting point isn't the same in your life. Coach Willie, you said, obviously you had great parents and you had a bunch of successful brothers and just like yourself, and a dad with a job even, right?
Yeah.
So your starting point is up here where mine's up here.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go and you've done some great things, but what you've also done is gone back and helped a lot of people and helped grab them up. Where my starting point's here, and I try to grab as many people as I can, but I'm also trying to catch up.
Right.
So it's like I'm pulling luggage from the back, but I'm also pulling the rope to get forward, and I have to do both. Where some people are like you, Coach, you're just pulling people to come with you.
Right.
When it comes to coaching and it comes to football, the number's staggering, whether you talk about high school, whether you're talking about college, whether you're talking about, any level of college, right? Of the amount of black head coaches. And I attribute it to people hire who they see themselves hanging out with, right? Some people want a football coach they can have a beer with and hang out with. But if they don't see themselves doing that, they're like, well, it's going to be only a business relationship. And I'm trying to build a community and a family. And I don't really know where he's kind of been and what does he have to do what did he do to get that good or to be that, right? Like when I was coaching at Buena Park, right? Everyone would say we have great athletes. No one ever talked about, he's actually a good coach, right? If I lose, it's because we're undisciplined. Oh, look at all those great athletes. How come they can't win? Because we had one lineman over 6 foot and we're going against San Clemente. That's why it's hard to win against those teams.
Right.
Our D lineman, we had one D lineman over 6 foot and over 250. That's why it's hard to beat Edison.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't talk about those kind of things. That's why in the summer when it came up about black coaches in Orange County, why are there only 4? At one time, I was the only one at Buena Park. Why is it like that? The statistics and the amount of student athletes on those teams are not that low. How many offensive coordinators? Here's another thing. I think Coach Jude Oliva and myself as 2 minority head coach, defensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator are the only tandem coordinators and head coach in all of Orange County or Southern California. I can't find that many, right?
Wow.
Why is it like that? And it just goes throughout history. We need to put themselves out there. We need coaches like Coach Willig. We need, Tom Gordon, just guys like you that are in a position of power to be able to help people get to know me, get to know my family. My wife's Chinese. My kids are a quarter black, a quarter Mexican, half Chinese, and our last name's White. Okay?
We're
diverse. We're diverse. Okay? We're diverse. And that's what our family is about. People say I don't see color. I see color. I just refuse to let that be a deterrent on who you are. I want to know who you are, not what you are. And a lot of people see coaches as what they are and not who they are. So get me in a room. Get me in a room with anyone, student athletes, parents, administrators, and let me show you my plan and what I can do. And that's what Santa Ana College, Coach Jones and Coach Nyson, who were the former head coaches there, they gave me a chance. They got me in the room. Because once you get me in the room, I can compete with anyone. I've been training my whole life for this. And I can do those things, and I have confidence I can do those things.
So how do we do it as teammates, Coach? How do we become your teammate in this situation? In this
get them in the room with you. Get them in the room. I'm not one that's gonna be complaining about it. I'm gonna be working to win for it. So get me in the room. Invite people on here that you just see on Twitter, like, oh man, yeah, he has a lot of athletes. Get them in the room. Talk to them. Some of the people you talk to, they're gonna prove you right. They're going to be crazy. They're going to be like, oh, man, this guy was crazy. But guess what? Now you know for sure. Right. Now you know. Now you know who they are and what they are, rather than just seeing it far away, okay? So we got to get those guys in the room, give them opportunities and give them chances, and let them fend for themselves. Put them on that same level, and then let the best person win.
I think people are going to hear that. They're going to hear that. Let them fend for themselves. Get them in a room. I think
get them in the room. Let everybody be equal, and then say where they're at. But we're just trying to get in the room. We're just trying to get in the room.
Well, anybody that says they don't see color, I think that's a problem. That scares me right away, because you do see color. You do. It's human nature, and whether how that what that stimulates is the essence of who you are. If it stimulates, a proud, being proud of the fact that I am able to experience all different kinds of culture, because that, to me, that's the most fascinating part of it.
Yes, sir.
And I think that, it's funny with athletes, with football coaches. We're fortunate to be, it comes down to who can punch you in the nose, and that's the guy I want next to me, and that's a beautiful thing. And has 2020 moved the conversation forward, Coach? Because the last conversation I had a couple days ago, somebody said to me, well, that's fine, Black Lives Matter did all this stuff, and they got all this energy and all this stuff going. What are they doing now? And I said, you got to look and find out. There's people that are having conversations with the Congress. There are people that are reaching out and having the leaders involved a little bit, but nobody's talking about it. We're not seeing that on CNN. Has the conversation moved forward in any way that we can be excited about?
I believe so. I think, Black Lives Matter. I was just talking to my cousins. I have a lot of, diverse family members, and, family members that are all that don't like Black Lives Matter. But I don't see it as an organization. I see it as a movement. And we're not saying nobody else matters. We're just making sure that Black lives do matter. It's not an organization where you donate money. I ain't donating nothing, right? I'm just making sure I treat everyone with respect and treating everyone fairly. And that's all I ask. Okay, I'm not asking you to give money. I'm not asking you to do anything. We're just asking you to notice. We're just asking you for the same respect. We're just making sure that they do. And we would do that the same for anybody. Okay, I'm a very diverse person. My family's very diverse. I love it. The more the merrier. I don't eat salad with just lettuce. Okay, I like some stuff in my salad, whether it be croutons and raisins, and I don't know. I go to Sizzler, I get the egg or whatever weird stuff they got, right? I mean, and I don't eat a lot of salads, as you can tell, right? Anyway, so it don't matter. But I like some diversity in everything that I do. I think it's the best part of life. The more the options, and I think that one of your questions was on the paper you gave me is, what is success? To me, success is options. The more options you have to do, the more successful you are. I remember going to McDonald's when I was a little kid. I didn't have that many options. You got the dollar menu all the way on the left-hand side, and that's what you order. I was like, damn, they got combos when I got older. I didn't know, right? So success is about options, and diversity is life. And I just think the more diverse anything is, the better. Same with my staff. We want to hire the most diverse staff possible in all of Orange County football and all of junior college football. The most diverse staff in the most different walks of life, because I want all my student athletes to be able to relate to at least one coach on my staff. That's my goal. That's my job, is to help our student athletes.
I'm glad you talked about the definition of success. And I want to circle back just one more time.
Yep.
The thing that I think that almost everyone has heard of is the Rooney Rule in the NFL. So I think everyone knows that. Everyone has heard that over the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know anyone that thinks it's working as well. But I think in my small understanding of it, it is a door opening situation. Yeah. Why is the NFL not being attracted to those people? Does it have to do with the beer drinking, you don't like the guy, the way, what? Yeah. Why is it not working in the NFL? I mean, it seems like exactly what you're asking for. Why is it not?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. The Rooney Rule was instituted to do just what I said, right? To get them in the room. Sir. So now they can relate. Now they can see what happens. I mean, Mike Tomlin, who's maybe one of the best now head coaches. Yeah, exactly. In all of the NFL, in the history of the NFL, one of the most successful coaches. It got him in the room, and that's the start. And people have to realize that race relations and seeing people different, this is a human thing. It's not just like United States thing. There have been wars fought over people that believe in different gods and born in different cities and born in different countries and part of different places. This is a human thing. And I something in our brain that makes us notice the differences, right? It's something in our human nature, and because we're mammals, and maybe something's a threat or maybe something's not a threat. And it's just something in us. But we are intelligent enough to notice that now some of those differences can also be a great thing and a positive thing for us. The NFL owners, you look at how many owners there are that are minorities, and that should tell you right there. And how do you become an owner? I've known a couple people that are trying to get in ownership and trying to, you know, have those high level jobs in those buildings. And, you know, it's like, oh, it's always someone's son, someone's nephew that got the job and is the president now and stuff. So it's been in the family, you know what I mean? And we got to get those guys in the room with them. And it's just going to take time. I know the NFL was talking about, you know, awarding draft picks or a 3rd round draft pick as a reward for hiring a minority coach, stuff like that. And it's sad we have to go that route, but I mean, you have to put all options on the table now. I mean, it's just out there.
What's the biggest bullet in the gun when you get that door open? So we have these kids now, they're starting behind a little bit.
Yeah.
We're doing a good job or we're not doing a good job, but then they get that shot. They got 1 shot, they got 2 shots, they got 5 shots. What's the most important thing when they walk through that door? These folks, these minority folks, what's the number one thing they can do to impress, let's say, the white guy that's going to hire him or the white guy that's going to do it up to?
There's 3 things that I tell my student athletes. I tell my son, I told myself a long time ago. When you are looking for a job or you are trying to do something for somebody else, right, in those positions, you have 3 jobs. Number 1, find out what they want.
Right.
Okay. Number 2, find out how they want that done. And number 3, you do it that way. So it doesn't matter what's getting done. What matters is who's doing it now, right? If I own the best restaurant, right? In-N-Out. And that restaurant to me, right?
Sure.
In-N-Out. In-N-Out, they don't have this In-N-Out does it this way. This In-N-Out puts bacon on it. This In-N-Out puts avocado. It don't matter what In-N-Out you go to, it's always the same In-N-Out. Because those workers come in and they say, I want it this way. This is how you do it. And that's how you get it done. And it's those 3 things.
Period.
A lot of people and minorities, they go into a situation and they say, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be me. They're not hiring you to be you. They're hiring you to do the job that they're hiring for. So many people think, oh, I'm going to bring my flavor. I'm going to do. It doesn't matter about that. It matters what's the job. How do you want it done? How do you want me to do it?
I don't think very many people want to hear that, Coach.
Well, within that, then you bring your flavor, but you can't be doing this crazy stuff. You have a job to do. And I'm an honest person. I'm just going to be honest. You find out what job needs to get done. They tell you how to do it and you do it that way. Anything else is wrong. Just, you don't have a defensive back. You tell them the back pedal. That's what your job is. Okay. How do you want me to backpedal? Like this. And then they start shuffling.
Right.
You're going to fire them. I don't care what color you are or where you come from.
Sure.
I'm telling you what to do. It's the same, just like on the field, Coach Willig, you know, on the field, it don't matter what color you are, right? So if you don't do your job at linebacker, I don't care what race you are. If you backpedal when you should be hitting the blitz, you get fired. So stop trying to be you and start trying to be their employee. Start trying to get in when you get in the door, getting in the door is not to be you. Getting in the door is to get the job.
Right.
And that's the thing.
That's one of the first things I tell the kids that I coach. You know, I coach softball, coach football. Nice. I tell them, why would I want to lose? Why would I not want the best people on the field? It doesn't serve me to make you cry, young lady. It doesn't serve me to break down your emotions and your feelings. We just want to win. Let's go.
and you're just trying to do the best you can, right? So every coach is. So I've had players that were so mature, like Jalen Hawkins, who plays for the Atlanta Falcons now.
Right.
We have 3 former NFL players, and next year we'll have 4 NFL players in 7 years at Buena Park.
Dang.
Because we teach them and we taught them. First of all, they come from great families, great fathers, great mothers, great support systems, great coaching staff that help pour into their lives. But the thing is you find out what they want. I'm gonna go over it again. Find out what they want. Find out how they want it done, and you do it that way. I talk to the players. They come in and they call me, and you know they come to practice at Santa Ana or they come to Buena Park, and they tell me, they're like, Coach, call it. NFL's easy. I mean, obviously we're blessed with God-given abilities to do what they want, but man, you got these guys doing some crazy stuff, and the coach is like, well, shit, I'll get you out. I'll put you in, and that's how they got their opportunity. But it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that you served your kids well, Coach, by instilling that philosophy, because that's how you can succeed. Like Tom said, I don't care where you come from or what your
Yeah.
background is. If you can play and you're a good dude, you're on the field. We're gonna rally around you, and that's awesome. Coach, what is, you know, we all have our fears. You know, I mean, people used to say, you know, how do you coach the little running back guys and and I said, you know, if you're afraid, run hard. And you know, and that's making your fears work for you. What is your biggest fears as you come along and grown up in the coaching ranks, and how do you combat that
as a parent as well?
My fear is my biggest fear of all time is that I'm not a good enough father and a husband. I didn't grow up, like I said, with a dad. I didn't know that many people that were married besides my grandparents or my older uncles. So I didn't know what it was like to be that. It's the reason I stepped away. You know, who steps away when they're on top of the mountain? They've done all these great things, and then overnight it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna take a break for a little bit. They're like, oh man, CIF must have been, oh, the principal must have been, oh, this is it. It's like, no.
I heard that, Coach. I heard that.
You know what I mean? Yeah, everyone's gonna, because there's no logical reason someone would do that. But they didn't understand. I don't care about the winning. I never have. If I built the program that I wanted to build, and I hired the staff that I wanted to hire, and we did the things that I preach and that I make sure we do, we were gonna win anyway.
Right.
We were gonna win anyway. Don't be surprised on Friday night or now Saturday afternoon or Saturday night when the scoreboard says that we're winning, because I already expected that. I care about it. Are you wearing the right socks? Are you doing your job? Are you blocking right? Did you go to class? That's what I care about. The winning stuff, that just comes with everything else you do. So everyone's gonna make, you know, oh man, I wonder what happened. You know what happened? Me and my wife had a tough time having my first son, and we were blessed to have him in 2013. We tried for a while after that, and when my wife was pregnant and we found out she was pregnant in February, we actually found out on a day that I was touring another school to go somewhere else in the Sunset League.
Wow.
And she gave me a call, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to take this new position that was offered to me. I didn't know whether to stay. I knew we had a good team coming back. I didn't kind of know. And I said, you know what? I told my staff before the season even started that it was going to be my last year and I was going to take a break, because you never talk to a coach, whether it be in college or high school, that said, I spent too much time with my family.
Right.
I've coached for 40 years, and man, I spend too much time with my wife, man. I can't stand it. Nobody
Coach,
ever
it seems
said
like
that.
Urban Meyer had those trials and tribulations. I mean,
and that goes to show you exactly what we started the podcast off with, is that I was with him a lot of times behind those closed doors, and he poured into me what was important to him. So I understand that, and I would tell him at the same time, and I learned about that. No one took the time to learn that about me, right? We've had those, me and Coach Meyer have had those discussions long time when I was playing for him, right? When we'd be driving to go see the university president as a student body vice president and the new head coach. I walked him into the dorms to meet all the dorms when I was an RA on campus. Nice. We've had a lot of those moments together. Right. So I know what he's going through when he was at Florida and when he did that at Ohio State and when he came back to the Jaguars. So I know how that's going. So I always had that in the back of my mind when I was coaching, when I was coming up, that was going to be my most important thing. So when I stopped coaching and I took those 4 years off, I was still super involved, giving coaching clinics to players, coaches clinics to coaches, having youth clinics for players, helping head coaches talk about their systems and, you know, defensive stuff, offensive stuff, whatever the case they need to stay involved. But I was swimming every day last year with my kids. For the last 3 years, I haven't missed a game. I haven't missed a practice, right? Stuff like that. So when Santa Ana College came and they, you know, try to get me out of my break, I made sure that family fits, that time with my wife fits, that all these schedules have to fit. Because when I was coaching and I started building a family when I got married and had kids, I always had football my whole life. I've been doing the same thing since I was 8 years old. I've been waking up, I've been going to school, I've been going to football practice. Those three things my whole life for 30 years, right? I always had football. When I had the family, my family had to fit in the football, right? When I take the break and now I have my family, I need to make sure I had a program that football fits into my family now.
Very good.
And they just kind of reset that motor. And that's why I'm super energetic. That's why I'm super excited. And I've always been this type of person.
You look happy, Coach.
But
you look
that's how I'm
happy.
going to do it.
You look happy, man.
Thank you.
That's one of the greatest things that we experienced when I first started
cool.
coaching. Because my first coaching job was at St. Paul, and we spent 4 years there or 5 years there, and it was all those tradition things. But one of the things that we did was every Sunday before we'd go to work would be family dinner, and we would do that kind of stuff and try and make sure that we were including the family to see what we were doing a little bit. And it really, I think it made a difference in a lot of ways. It still put strains and stresses on everybody, but it was something that everybody knew we were going to get to see our husbands in their work environment,
Yeah. The families, the wives, they need to be involved. You're part of the team too. Because a lot they're the most important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it took me a while. When I was a young coach and I would lose a game on a Friday, it ruined my whole weekend. And guess what? It ruins my wife's weekend.
That's right.
And then it would ruin my kids' weekend. And I'm like, what the hell am I ruining weekend for? You know what? I don't need to do that. And so you kind of separate it. Yeah. You separate it, and you want to make sure that you're just enjoying every aspect of it.
When I was a kid and people used to tell me, when you're mature and you grow up I hated that, I hated that comment. I didn't like it. I thought I knew more than that. But I'll tell you what, when I did the maturing factor and understanding things in a different perspective, it's a lifesaver, and it makes such a big difference. Coach, changing family cycles is something that I think you've mentioned and talked a little bit about. Can you talk a little bit about how far you delve into the kids and I think I mentioned to you, we had the yes sir, no sir deal on the field. Yes, sir, I understand. I'll do my best. No, sir, I don't understand. Can you explain it again? But I always told them, when you step off the field, you can come into my office and you can say, Coach, fuck this shit. I'm fucking tired and I'm pissed. And you can speak like a man.
Oh, we could cuss on here? Oh, yeah. This show's about to get real good now.
And that was the way it was. And until those kids came in and got to see it be real, they didn't believe it, but it sure changed the way they walked out the door and they approached their teammates, and they started policing each other a lot better when they knew that you understood a little bit. Tell me a little bit about changing family cycles.
So we'll start off with my family cycle. So, a couple times already, I've mentioned I didn't grow up with a dad. I didn't meet him until I was 20 years old. Okay. Growing up, I didn't know what he looked like. We didn't have a picture of him. It's me and my sister. And I have two younger brothers from another marriage from my mom, but me and my sister, we never knew where he was. The only thing I knew, his name was Anthony White.
Oh, wow.
Just like me. And later I found out, when I was a teenager, my mom told me that I had an older brother, a half brother, from him and another lady, and his name was Anthony White.
Oh, geez.
So growing up, I didn't meet my dad till I was 20. He actually saw us playing Cal Berkeley or Oregon on ESPN. And I made a tackle and they said Anthony White on TV. The story goes, I guess he goes online, he looks up, and when they write the bio for you online about the player, they say who your parents are. He saw my mom's name. He called a teammate from LA who went to, I believe, Dorsey, and said, can you get the phone to Anthony? That's my son.
Wow.
And I talked to him when I was in college, and it's the first time I ever heard his voice.
Wow.
And I met him, and I probably saw him maybe 10 times since then, and he passed away in 2019.
Coach, tell me how that conversation go, if you don't mind.
Shoot. I mean, the first question you want to ask is why. Maybe I felt something like I was going to be such a good player that it was kind of like a dream realized, to be honest with you, because as a kid and you're growing up and he's around, but he's not around, and maybe he's alive and you don't know where he's at. And I said, I'm going to be such a good player where he'll find me. I'll get my name out and I'll be so good, he'll find me.
Wow.
And it kind of happened like that. And, we talked and I said hi, and I wanted to know his full name and I wanted to know when his birthday was. And one of my biggest life regrets is I never, I kind of had that chip on my shoulder, and I was a little bit jaded, a little bit like, look what I've done without you. Like, I don't need you now. And I kind of felt like that until his funeral, when I learned so much about him and I heard these funny stories. And the other half of me was like completed now, because all these little quirky things that I do or that I say or how I laugh or all these things he would do or my dad's family would do. Wow. And I felt completed. And I told my wife, I said, this year, my Father's Day wish is I want to go to my grandma's house or my aunt's house on my dad's side. And I just want to be around that family, because I never been around them besides the funeral. And I never understood, but just to learn about that. So when I said starting the family cycle, going back to your question, my son's name is Anthony White II. Even though he's really the fourth, I named him the second, because we are restarting that cycle of Anthony Whites in our family. And that's how I feel. And everything that we do now, everything that I want to do is just to help others and to grow as a person. And my wife has been instrumental, San White. She's been so instrumental in me growing and me becoming a better person. And she got a lot of work to do still. She'll tell you that herself, but
it's a career.
She's done. Yeah, exactly. And she has a better career than me. She's big time. She's bigger time than me. Yeah, but she's done so much for me and our family and building that and holding me accountable to be that better husband and be that better father. So I told her, you're the only one that gets to yell at me, because I practice, I'm yelling at everybody else. Right. So she has that honor.
That's great. I told somebody the other day, I said, she was asking me some questions about Coach. I said, I've been looking for a girl to tell me what to do all my life. I've been trying to figure out what to do every day.
That's a great call.
She couldn't quite buy into that. But
yes, sir.
This is off the topic. I have, looking back now, I'm 50 years old, and looking back, I've had so many. I coached for 30 years. I had so many demons that were pushing me, and I always thought, like, gosh, I was able to harness that energy, and I was able to put it toward good, and but it does take a toll on your body, and unfortunately, I got diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. We're good, and it's just like, so I have a different mindset now. Can you talk about, having that adversity as a young person, which I believe you're blessed about, I'm guessing in some way. How do you make sure that it doesn't consume you? Now, I'm not saying my cancer has anything to do with my stresses in life, but like, how do you keep it from consuming you? How do you keep that chip on your shoulder, but also be, chipper and nice and like be a normal human being? Because I think there was times where I wasn't a very nice person. No, I wasn't very balanced.
No, I understand that 100%. And there's some people are going to say I'm not a nice person. But the thing is that have you, growing up, I was scared of heights. I don't know if anybody's scared of heights where I remember as a kid, we didn't have no car. We didn't have a car growing up. And we used to have to walk over this bridge to go to practice.
Right.
And I used to, to the wash or something, right?
Yeah.
And I used to hate walking over that damn bridge because I just scared like the worst possible thing can happen.
Right.
And that kind of prepared me to think ahead. I've always been thought ahead. But one thing I knew is that I wasn't going to turn around and walk back.
Right.
I was going to keep walking and walk as fast as I could forward to get over that bridge.
Right.
And that's kind of how we have to think about it. I understand where I came from. And now it's funny. I mean, me and my brothers and my sister at Christmas, we're laughing. And we went to breakfast last week on Sunday. And Tom.
Can you believe this?
Yeah. Like, man, we had a car growing up. Get this story. We had a car growing up when I was playing youth football, right? The car didn't go in reverse. All right. So we're driving the worst car ever. We had to hold the damn trunk open with the broomstick. My mom just laid the broomstick down, right? So we had a car that didn't go in reverse. I played football. I dominated, right? I was great. I'd score 4 touchdowns in a game. All the teams walking to the parking lot, they'd see me pushing my mom's car back from the parking spot so she could put it in drive, and then we could drive away. But I had to push it back because we didn't go in reverse. We couldn't go in reverse. The kids on my team and the coaches kind of knew, but the kids on my team, when you're 10 years old, 12 years old, say, hey, how come you're pushing your car? And I grew up embarrassed, right? And I would say, oh, my mom saw me miss tackles. I missed 3
good call.
tackles, and I didn't put the ball in the right hand. So my mom makes me push the car to get my legs strong.
Punishment.
I would come up with stuff like that, stories that I would tell my friends, but I was really embarrassed about, how we grew up. But those struggles, man. We had Disneyland passes. My kids and my wife, I would buy a churro every time, because every time we went to Disneyland as a kid, I went one time, I couldn't get no food there.
Right.
She had food. She had the sandwiches she made at home.
On the side.
I used to buy a churro, eat half of it, and throw it away just so I could say I bought a churro.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Same.
That's how we all grew up.
Yeah,
but now we can laugh about it. But now we do those things, and I'm blessed. I mean, man, I walk into Target and I'm like, man, I'll buy anything up in this place. Just the joy and the feeling feeling blessed, and those demons. That's what fuels me for the next. Because
Coach, I got a little crazy with some sneakers. I got a few sneakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just gotta have them.
Yeah, man, dude, I bought a 90-inch TV 2 weeks ago. Look at my Instagram, 90-inch TV by the pool outside. Because I like to watch movies while I swim.
No, Coach, you're gonna break down film on that bad boy. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's a business expense.
Write it off.
Don't send that. Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, man. I grew up with 6 boys in the family, and people look at me and go, you invite us over for dinner, and you look like you're cooking for like 20 people. I'm like, I know how to make a casserole, and I can cook a little bit,
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm used to making enough, so we got enough.
The whole bird.
Everybody eats, and that's how I was too, man. That's the beauty of it. But all of our generation, we go through all these hard times, and like I said before, my dream, I use football to get out, but I use coaching to go up.
Okay.
And that's what my life is about now. So I use coaching of football to get out of my situation, to get a scholarship, to get the free education. Because you could only move up social classes 3 ways. There's only 3 ways anyone can move up a social class. And it's number 1 is education. That's the easiest way. It's the most important way. It's the most basic and standard way, is getting an education to get a job and move up. The second thing is you win the lottery. Okay? You win the lottery and you move up a social class. The third thing is you have a God-given ability or talent like LeBron James, or you're a singer, or you're an actor, or something like that. But those are really the only 3 ways that you can move up a social class. Now, education, I'm not saying you get a 4-year degree. There's some guys I know that are construction workers and have a permit or something, and dude, they're balling. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not, education comes in a lot of different forms. And I don't push, when I was in coaching high school, I didn't push all my kids to go get a 4-year degree, because they might not be about school, but they might be about carpentry or plumbing. Right. I have 2 kids that own electrician businesses, right? Or they own a plumbing thing, and they're doing that stuff. But that's what it's all about. It's all about education. I mean, I've been trying to win the lottery, or you have a God-given ability. But those are the only ways you move up in a social class in this world. And you just have to work at one of them. You know what your own goals are, or what your own things are. And I would tell my students in class all the time, if you're struggling right now and you don't have what you want, and you look at Christmas and you're like, damn, where's my presents? And you have that burning fire, the fire burned inside of me more than it burned around me. That's how I was. That's how I am. Mm-hmm. The fire burns inside of me more than it burns around me. And that's how I am. And that's how I live. No matter what happened in the past, I was always stronger than that. And I always turn to, I think I'm a funny person, right? So I try to use it as jokes, and I just tell my mind and tell myself, and to move over things. And that's why I've been a person that does a lot of firsts. I was the first 17-year-old RA in the dorms at the University of Utah in the history of the school. I was 17 years old, and I was running the dorms, living there. You know what I mean? But all those kind of things. So,
well, you talked a little bit about, all these things that, coming up from where you came up, and the things that I can just imagine, giving those kids those polos and those khakis,
yeah.
you know, it gave them that something that they didn't have. You know,
Yes,
I got reading the story, it kind of brought a tear to my eye because I really feel that, you know, and you know, when you give somebody something that's a little bit above what they've been able to experience, it elevates them in a way that they might not have been able to do themselves. And I think
exactly.
that's
So the story behind those polos and the khakis is when I got the job, I didn't realize we only had 14 guys on the team in the whole school.
What?
And we have to recruit the hallways. So I would go out and I didn't have any friends out here. I moved, remember, from Temple City. My staff are young coaches. They're like, dude, we ain't driving at the Orange County to coach this team that won 0 games in 3 years, you know? So I came here and I'm like, okay, I try to evaluate everything, but it's not a big deal because I didn't have anything. So we're going to grow together. So the reason that story got built and got written and the program got built is we had a writer or a photographer come from OC varsity. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm going to take a picture of your offensive starters and your defensive starters, and we'll put it in. I remember researching the team, and there were kids with no shirt, kids with a wife beater, kids with a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. I said, no. I ran home. I got one of my polos, a black polo, just black. I think it had Adidas or Under Armour or something, Nike or something like that. And I made every kid wear that one polo for their picture. So they would take the picture, smile, take it off, give it to the next player. He'd smile. And I'm like, I'm not going to let people judge you.
I know
because of what you don't have.
Yeah.
They don't know you don't have it. We're not going to look like we don't have it, but we're going to work to get it. So that's how the story got written. And that's the photographer's like, what the hell? There's 20 kids wearing one shirt.
That's awesome.
He's got places to go, coach. He's like, man, it's going to take me a half hour.
So I get emotional too, man, talking about it because we really grew up together. I was 26 at the time. I was 26, 27 years old. And, you know, I'm trying to build this program with kids that reminded me when I was little. Right. So we all wore that one polo. I get a call later, says, we're going to write a story. We're going to follow you for a week. They didn't know we were going to start off with the best school record in school history at 6-0. We didn't lose because I told them anybody that looks like us, we won't lose to them because they're just like us. Now, obviously, when we play La Habra, Fullerton, all those schools that didn't look like us, we took our love. But anybody that looked like us, we can beat because we came from too much. Right. I mean, growing up in high school, I had a mentor, a coach, John Martinez. And this is a guy with his family that poured so much into me, right? He would have a yard sale on a Friday morning to make money to come see me play that night. I have kids that were all league at Buena Park. Their parents couldn't afford to go to the game. So we'd make it seem like they were volunteering so they could get in the game for free. We had 200 people on the guest list.
Right on.
At Buena Park. 200 people on the guest list at Buena Park to come in the game. The principal, the assistant principal, hey, how come you have 200 people here? I said, because you have 2,000 in the stands. I bring you 2,000. Give me 200.
That's tough.
That's awesome.
That's the type of program that we're going to build at Santa Ana College. That when you could do that for your players and you could do that for people, it's not about just blocking because a coach tells you to. You do it for each other. And that's what we're building.
Yeah, coach, that's for real, man. I don't know if it's any better than that, coach. We really enjoyed having the time to delve into your head a little bit because I know, we've heard a lot about you and got to share a few minutes together, but for you to share all that stuff with us is amazing. And
thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes, we're really grateful. We do finish with a little bit of a speed round of sorts, and we're gonna put a couple questions to you. And
let's do it.
But before we leave, I just want to make sure I say thanks, Coach.
Coach,
good stuff, man.
I appreciate it greatly. I have those questions that were on the right-hand column that we're going to try to put together a compilation of all our guests, the Bezos question, all that stuff. And I just want to get that on tape because we're kind of done here. And then we have a speed round. That's another compilation. That's super fun. I'm a psychology teacher, so it's always fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's always fun. So I mean, we won't even talk. You say what you need to say, and we'll get it on tape. Sound good, Coach? I first of all, man, I appreciate it, man. Gee whiz, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. That's incredible.
I need to come out and sweep out the locker room over at Santa Ana College, man, just to be around. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. What's your Desert Island 5 records?
Music records or
yes,
CDs?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Oh
yes,
man,
sir.
I need James Brown greatest hits. I need Al Green greatest hits. I need Michael Jackson. I need Stevie Wonder, and maybe a Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg to get a little funk in there for me to get some.
I gotta go deep.
That's what I need.
I gotta go deep, Coach. What's your favorite Stevie Wonder album?
Ooh, I don't know. I need
that's pressure.
Made to Lover. That's my song though. I mean, I listen to it all, man. Pandora picks them for me, but I thumbs up a lot of them. You know what I mean? So that's
Coach,
I just like it. It's just music, you know.
That's awesome. My uncle played down basketball down at Clemson, and he came out from South Carolina, and he stayed with us for a while. And so for my confirmation at like 12 years old or whatever it was, he bought me Stevie Wonder Inner Visions. And it was over, Coach. I didn't even know anything about it, you know.
Yeah,
all of a sudden it was like I was turned on to something that was brand new. So
that's incredible.
Go ahead, Tommy.
All right. One person who made an impact on your life that doesn't know it.
You know, I saw that question, and I think those people, and I put it on there, and it might have been crazy.
No, that's fine.
The people that change my life every day and give me perspective are the people that are selling those oranges and the flowers off the freeway, that are standing right next to the people just begging for free money.
Right.
That's what work to win is. The people that are working for something. Yeah, there's some kids with, you know, there's some parents with a kid in a stroller right next to them, but they're here for a better life. Mm-hmm. They're willing to work. And then you have someone right next to them that isn't, and they feel entitled. I love the man. I think I'll give the extra money to the people selling the stuff and working for it before I give it to the other people. I'm not saying homelessness is not a problem. What I'm saying is people that are willing and able to work, some of them choose not to, but it's work to win. Those people that I see all the time is what I educate my kids about, and what my wife and I strive for our kids to have that work ethic and to help those kind of people that are willing to help themselves.
Right on. You've mentioned this, and this is a good one, but I want to get it on tape. One thing every young person should know. Oh man.
One thing every person should know. We talked about this earlier.
Yes, sir.
Find out what the job is.
Right.
What's the job? Second part, find out how they want the job done. How they want the job done. And the third thing is to do it that way. Right. Stop trying to be you. Find out what the job is. Find out how they want it done and get it done and do your job.
That's outstanding.
You give us a lot of good sound bites, Coach. It's going to be great. Awesome. What is the magic bullet for happiness?
Oh, man, happiness is just to be you. Okay. I think a lot of people, when it comes to hold on.
That's okay. It's okay. I think we went overtime on this one.
Something happened.
I think maybe the child fell down or something.
Sorry, my son was eating some grapes and I had to do the Heimlich maneuver.
Oh, jeez.
literally. Right? Yeah, literally. He's okay? Me? No, I'm serious.
Come in here and give him a little shout out. Bring him in.
Monk, come here. He's got water. He's teary-eyed and stuff.
That's all right.
You okay, Monk? Let me check him. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Got time.
Yeah, I heard he's choking.
Yeah. Jesus. That's a good thing about the great band, Coach. I didn't have to worry. Mr. Giroux. Mr. Giroux.
Yeah, that's great.
My wife has him. Sorry.
Okay. Holy moly.
I'm saving lives, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Coach, if you had Bezos money, what would you spend your money on to make your country?
Oh, did we answer the last one?
Well, no.
You
let's-
just
what was the
started.
last
You
one?
said to be,
yeah,
be
happiness.
yourself.
But,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, go
No
ahead.
problem. You want to ask that again and then me answer
Yeah.
it again? or-
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Okay.
go.
Okay.
What is the magic bullet for happiness?
Magic bullet for happiness is just to be you. I mean, I remember when I was in 6th grade, there was a girl, Desiree. She liked country music. I try to pretend I like country music so she would like me. I hated country music.
Right.
But you have so many people trying to fit in other people's boxes where you need to be you, to be happy with yourself. Now, if that means working your way up to be able to do what you want to do and to
Right.
be able to be who you are, you have to first understand and work your way up to do that. But always be you in your relationships and coaching. I remember when I first started coaching, I hired an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and I thought that's what everybody did. And then Friday night came and I didn't do anything. I didn't do shit. I was standing on the sideline asking the coaches what they called, and I didn't get to coach.
Right.
So from then on, I said, well, I'm going to coach defense the rest of my career because I want to coach too. That's why I became the head coach.
Right.
So those kind of things, always be you, be truthful to yourselves. Don't be trying to pretend you're somebody else and get into a relationship or a marriage or a job or anything like that. And then have the real you come out and stuff don't work. I tell my students all the time, just be you, be happy. And the person that loves you, you'll know they love you and not who you're pretending to be.
Nice. That's solid. All right. If you had Bezos money, what would you spend it on to make your community or country stronger?
Oh man, education, healthcare are the two most important things. Just, parks, allowing kids to play, and opportunities. We talked about people starting on different levels in life, just bringing everyone to the same level, everyone giving the same opportunity. But I think our healthcare system and people making a profit off of people getting sick and people being scared to go to the doctor because they might not be able to afford it. It's not right. We're the smartest, we're the richest nation in the history of humankind. And let's show some human decency and do that.
Cheers to that.
And you said, how do you measure success? How do you measure success?
And we talked about that. Measuring success is all about options. The more options you have, the more successful you are. I know when I was growing up, sometimes we didn't have a car. I had one option to get to practice. That's taking the bus, taking the bus. I know friends now, I walk out in front of my house, we have 2 cars. We have options.
Right.
Success is all about the amount of options you have. Whether you go to a restaurant, what part of the menu you can order from, what kind of restaurant you can eat at. Whether you're eating at McDonald's and you don't have that many options, or where you can eat at actual real restaurants. Okay. So the more options you have, the more successful you are.
Thanks, Coach. Nice. All right, we're gonna do the speed round, and this is kind of a this is actually probably says more about me and Chuck than it does about our guests. But we're gonna so please, it's just an either or situation. We're just gonna, you just say what first thing that comes to your head.
Mind. All right, let's do this.
All right, here we go. Elvis or Jerry Lee?
Who the hell are those guys?
Got it. That's what I was trying to tell you.
I'm telling you, man, you got to go millennial. You got to go millennial,
like
Coach.
Elvis.
Oh, are you? No. Okay.
I don't know.
Drake or J. Cole?
Ooh, Drake. Drake's my man right there.
All right. Chuck D or LL Cool J?
Ooh, LL Cool J.
Ford or Chevy?
Ooh, Ford.
Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Pepsi, but McDonald's Coke only.
Secret sauce over there.
They put something, yeah.
Whiskey or tequila?
Oh, I don't drink. I never drank either one of them.
Right.
Android or iOS?
iOS. If you have an Android, throw it away.
Baseball or football? Duh.
Football.
Duh. Let's see. Blonde or brunette?
Ooh, brunette.
J-Lo or Selma?
Ooh.
It's a right now.
Man, J-Lo's collecting rings like Thanos. I gotta,
I'm gonna put a big picture of Thanos.
She took the other one. I was like, no, man, I'm not doing that.
Batman or Superman?
Ooh, Superman. Batman just had money. Superman do it all. Batman can't even jump high.
Oh, man, we're gonna have to sit down on that one. That's a good one. All right. World War II or Vietnam?
Oh, World War II history teacher. I love World War II.
And Vince Scully or Chick Hearn?
Chick Hearn.
All right, that's it, man. I appreciate
Chick Hearn
you.
from the Lakers, right? The announcer
Yes, sir.
from the Lakers?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
I thought it was Chuck Hearn.
Chick Hearn. Well, back in the day, Chick Hearn, he's passed away, but yeah.
Yeah. The Lakers announcer. The Wizards say the Jello's cold, the lights off, and Yeah,
Yep.
man, that's my guy. Yeah, love it.
It's in the refrigerator.
Yeah,
Listen, Coach,
right.
hey man, I appreciate everything. I think we went way over time, but I mean, it was such a good conversation. We're gonna chop this thing up a little bit. There's not much to cut out, believe me. But
Good.
when we edit it and we promote it, I'm gonna send you some clips. I'll send you the whole thing. You guys use it as promotion, whatever you want to do.
Thank
We're
you,
gonna have
yeah.
our logo. We'll have our logos on stuff, but I mean, whatever. Hopefully this helps in some way. I mean, you're pretty savvy with media, but anything for you. And if you ever want to come back on, if anything like pops in your head and you want to do a quick 30 minutes or something, just let us know, man. We'll be open to it.
Thank you.
Good
guys
luck,
so much.
man. Good
Yeah,
luck,
Coach.
Not that you need it. Not that you need it. I'm sorry.
No.
No good luck. Fuck that.
We're gonna work. But I want to thank you guys for the opportunity too, and kind of working with our schedule. You know that Sunday got rained out a little bit. They changed the game schedule, but thank you for making time for me. And this was
Coach, I'll tell you
long, but I love it.
The whole deal. The whole podcast came about during the pandemic because we were getting inundated with so much negativity.
Yeah.
We were getting so loud and so obnoxious that we just wanted to start talking about positive things and positive people and people that make a difference in the community, and trying to give ourselves an opportunity to share some personalities like yours. And I can't tell you, you topped all our expectations today, Coach, and we're really looking forward to seeing you have your success, and we'll drop in and see you practice one day, and just to say hello and hang out and see what's going on down there. But I know you're gonna have a great time.
I'm gonna jump in some drills.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks, Coach. Have a great day. Thanks to your family for letting us have you for a little while, and go take care of business.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to save my son's life too. I appreciate
That's okay. Coach, are you gonna have a different Twitter for Santa Ana? Or are you gonna be the same guy?
Same guy.
Okay, that's what we'll promote. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Coach. See you later, man.
When will it come out?
It takes me a minute, man. Maybe 2 weeks, something like that. Okay, I'll let you know, though. I'll let you know.
Yeah, don't edit too much out. I think it was a great conversation.
It was straight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was straight.
So that's good.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Awesome. You guys are awesome.
Right on.
And
Thanks, Coach.
not Troy Thomas. Thank him for me too. That fucker. I don't really even know who he is. To be honest,
I went to school with them at St. Paul. He's nut.
I love that guy, and I think we'd be really good friends if I actually knew his identity. But
and Tom Chavez is a guy I coached softball with over at
Oh,
Villa Park.
did you? Yeah. I love Tom.
Yeah, so it's been a connection for me.
Man.
So I brought your name up, Coach. I brought your name up. I'm like, there's this guy on Twitter. He's really sophisticated. He's really woke. And then Chuck goes, yeah, I just met that guy a couple months ago at Pioneer, or whatever it was, a year ago at Pioneer,
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach, for that.
Yeah,
too.
no worries,
I really
man.
appreciate
It's
that
awesome.
time.
Yes, sir.
Go be with your family, man. Get out.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.